Ron, good to be able to connect with you again today. I think we've spent some time chatting on migrations and from a few different perspectives before, but the last time we talked, we were just starting to get into what does a successful migration look like when we both got called away to something else, unfortunately. So I thought, in the spirit of learning and sharing, let's make sure we have that conversation. And, just getting into it, I think where we left off was really talking about the users of the platform itself and how the people, can make it or break it. So when you talk to your customers about and your clients about change management, how do you talk to them about, the actual user adoption of this?
Yeah, user adoption is a key factor for success in your project. When you're doing a cloud migration, when you're doing any sort of project, whenever you do a CRM project, there's two areas where a project can fail, and it usually comes down to data migration and user adoption. The other areas you work out, but those two areas hold the biggest risk. And user adoption, for me, the way I've seen it successfully implemented is working with your project sponsor and having the I think people call it the 4 Ps of change management. I know there's the 4 Ps of marketing, product, price, place, promotion, but there's 4 Ps of user adoption. I could say the 4 Ps, I don't know what the Ps are for, but it's the 4 are: why are we doing this project? How is my job going to be impacted by this cloud migration? When is the cloud migration going to actually happen? And how can I participate in this cloud migration project? So if we're continuously, let's say once a week, once every 2 weeks, while the project is going on, have everybody in the room, and again, explaining why we're doing this project, what's the impact on the job, when will they expect to see this happen and rolled out, and how can they participate in the project? If you keep your folks involved with those four Ps of change management, then you'll have success. You will have brought them.
When you think about, when you think about successful implementations, what kind of roles did you often have at the table to kind of support the motions you just talked about?
The project sponsor was generally the one providing the message. And then for each department or program of work within a company, where each department that was being impacted, they may also have somebody, one person who sits at the table who's the subject matter expert for that line of business, a decision maker in that line of business. And so it would be the project sponsor, that person. And then on our side, we have the Scrum Master, or the project manager would be sitting beside the project sponsor while the project sponsor delivers the message. And that's what we found is successful.
It totally makes sense, right? And I think it has to come from within that line of business as well, because those people in those roles understand better than anybody else how this is going to impact employees, day to day lives and how that's going to go. And I think, since the pandemic has hit, so many organizations have tried to figure out, hey, how do I support, remote selling or remote service, but also, and perhaps more importantly, remote work all up, just to make sure that my employees are staying safe, right? And sometimes that's by regulation, and often organizations just stepping up and doing the right thing. But I have to think too that when you're implementing cloud, pandemic or not, there's a new level of access and empowerment to employees. How do you think about that, as you're rolling out the change to them from an implementation perspective?
We really do see that the business is able to scale at this point. The scalability that a business has, where before people were either tunneling in to use an application, VPNing in, or not many customers set up what they called at the time internet-facing deployments, IFDs, of their applications. And so the scalability of business now, and the fact that COVID is pushing us in this direction, we've now seen that companies are realizing the benefit of having a cloud-based application as opposed to an in-house based application. Did I answer that question? I feel like I kind of went a bit off, but.
No, I mean, I think it makes sense, right? Which is, there's just a new, it can be just perceived as such a lightweight change, but the impact that it actually has on the users is pretty significant. And I think those organizations that, were already on the cloud, they were able to handle the rockiness of the pandemic a lot faster, because, their employees had the ability to be at home much faster, but still deliver, world-class service, or still deliver on sales quota, or whatever it may be. So I think it definitely makes sense. And even from a regional perspective, right? As organizations think about, expansion of call centers, or, if they don't need to have, the in-person call centers anymore, and they're going to move all to digital, now they can have employees from coast to coast. And I think in a way, it opens up the talent pool a lot as well, right?
Exactly.
And allows them to tap into new people as well. And then, lastly, roles change. We talked about this last time. What people now have the space and the time to think about kind of on a day-to-day basis, I think transforms quite a bit. What some of our observations have been is, hey, once this change is made, the ability to improve, or the ability to be more efficient, or the ability to do something new happens a lot faster than it did before when the customer was on-prem. And so thinking about, I think the role of the IT department has also shifted, and has shifted into, hey, how do I help my organization in how they engage with customers, in what we offer to them, and in how our employees come to work every day as well, right? Have you had examples where you've seen organizations be able to, maybe address painful processes, or get after some work that maybe they hadn't been able to before?
Yeah, the business process efficiency focus changes, I feel, when you go to the cloud. I feel like the world that existed when we had server rooms and, fire suppression systems and security on doors and all of that sort of IT-ness that was going on, it meant IT lived in this ivory tower, and the focus was on IT. Right. And now the focus is switching back to, okay, it's just a line of business application that we've paid for, that's sitting in the cloud, that now we're going to focus on business process efficiencies, not on IT for the sake of IT.
Yeah.
It's you realize that the computer is just a large calculator for your business, and a calculator that lets you lift a business process, not just calculate some numbers. And so the focus is switching from, like I said, from maintaining those servers and maintaining that hardware to how can we make our business better? How do we focus on that instead of focusing on IT? And going to the cloud really helps. Helps.
I met somebody recently who had actually been a full stack developer for years.
Right.
Shifted over to support Dynamics all up. And, they said to me, I'm now closer to the business side, which I had never had experience in doing before. And so I also have, more context when it comes to my work now. And I have more meaning because I have more context, and I feel, deeply connected to this organization now because I'm connecting with the business leaders. I understand what we're trying to do as a company. And so I think that's kind of what you're hitting on, which is people now have the opportunity to work on really impactful projects, but understand why they're doing it and the outcome that the company is trying to drive as well.
Right, right. No, I agree 100%. It's
Yeah.
exciting. It's way more interesting. It's way more interesting than the days when we were just mechanics, working on this hardware. And you're no longer a mechanic. You're a frontline worker now, and
Right.
that's
And having impact on real change and on your organization's customers and more efficiency in your fellow peers. And I think that it can add a lot of meaningful work to someone for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Well, I think that's a nice note to end on. I know we've connected a few times now on migration. I've had the opportunity, to learn from your 25 years of experience in the industry and the changes that you've seen over time. And I really thank you for sharing that with me and also allowing me to, share Microsoft's perspective on some of these things too.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Cassaundra. This has been great.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon, Ron. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.